Welcome to Soul Rising. We're your hosts, Amy and Erin. We're two everyday mediums who are passionate about taking the woo-woo out of spirituality and bringing it down to earth. So put the kettle on, grab a chair, and join us.
Hey everyone!
Welcome back. Oh wait, hang on.
We're doing slight hair changes as
hair
we record
changes.
back-to-back episodes. So this is episode 25.
25.
If you can believe it, episode 25. Thanks for being here and for being a loyal listener and listening. I get messages constantly like, I'm binging, I'm catching up, I'm watching more episodes today, and I love
so
it.
Nice.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Just talking about a listener a minute ago that's in Scotland, so shout out to you. You know who?
Shout out.
We're just talking about getting married, renewing our, like for me, renewing our vows, and for Erin, she's about to get married. Talking about how lovely it would be to get married next to.
I just want to be. I want to live in a castle.
Live in a castle. Yeah.
Like, is that too much to ask, universe? Just give us a castle.
Yeah.
I don't need anything else. Like, I'll clean it myself. I could do it.
That's a tall order, Erin. That's a lot. You're going to clean it.
But I'll do it.
I will do it for this. Yeah.
Now somebody's going to ask if I can clean their house, and it's just going to be in a
No, thank you. Not be doing that. So today we decided, because like I said in the last episode, we base a lot of our episodes based on kind of what we see kind of going on in our own lives, but in the lives of
others
and our clients and
energy
and all of that. There tends to be themes in energy. Last week we talked about just kind of being all over the place, and even the episode might be a little bit all over the place. we talked about quite a few things, but today we feel encouraged to talk about balance.
Yep.
Boundaries.
Yep.
Yeah. And in between, shooting this episode and the last one, I picked up my phone momentarily and there was 2 messages on there talking about boundaries.
Yes, talk about this.
So I'm like, okay, definitely encouragement to talk about this today. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's something we were always growing with, I don't feel like we'll ever stop talking about boundaries. We're always I feel like everything, there's instances that come up in terms of how lessons, about, how to set your own boundaries or boundaries with others, even boundaries with spirit we want to talk about. Because we were joking and I was like, are they the same? Are they different? And both Amy and I agree that I feel like boundaries with spirit and people are very, they're the same. They're very similar. Yeah. Because I've had I feel like energies kind of come through that they're just a little, you can kind of feel that push, right? Of hey, even, sometimes as much as I love doing the work, right? Sometimes too, I feel like the energies will linger afterwards. And I'd have to say out loud, listen, I don't mind if you stay for a little bit, but if you're going to have to leave, you can't stay here forever.
Yeah.
You can come hang out for a bit. That's cool. But party's done at midnight.
Yeah. That's very generous.
Yeah.
Do you ever see those, I've seen this thing, this meme or whatever, where it's somebody, me as a party planner, and then it's somebody hanging a banner that says, please leave by 9. I'm like, yeah, that would be me.
Midnight is very generous. I should say before I go to bed, which is 10 o'clock basically.
Yeah. On a good night. That's what I try for. Interesting. We're talking about sleep because last week we talked about just being, the energy of overwhelm a bit and
overtired,
being overtired and ungrounded and all of those things. And
and what comes with being groundedness, right? Boundaries. When you're firm in your, when you're standing in your truth, you're grounded. Right. And that also can help.
That's what I was going to say a moment ago when you were talking about boundaries. And I was thinking to myself, because you were like, I think we'll forever be talking about boundaries and forever be learning about boundaries. And I was thinking, yes, because everything we do in terms of our growth, evolution, whether it's,
Yeah.
on the spiritually based or not, although I think everything is spiritually based really at the end of the day, because we are, spirits living a human existence, in my humble opinion. Every single thing we do, to grow and evolve at a soul level, at a personal level, I feel like is related to boundaries and always will be in some way. Boundaries with yourself, boundaries with others, boundaries with the energy, whatever it is. There's always going to be something with boundaries, because I think boundaries is like, when you think about the key of like how to unlock, like, it's almost like one of those games where it's like you try to make it through something and then you got to find the next key and the next key. I think the key is always boundaries.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I love when I get it, like imagery in my head from spirit. That happens
absolutely,
because I understand it when I see things. Yeah. It's
and
always going to come down to boundaries.
Absolutely. And I was just gonna say, like, it's like, not to put any blame on others, right? Or spirit.
We're all learning it.
Because we're all learning it.
Yeah.
And I honestly would say, like, thank you to those who came in to maybe test my boundaries, or to, give me lessons on my boundaries, because it's because of those situations that have helped me to be more firm in my boundaries with others and spirit, right? It's all about the lessons.
And I love that too, because, in the last episode, we talked a little bit about how important the mindset is and how we can reframe things. And it changes everything just by a slight mindset shift. And so, if we learn something that I am learning, I think you're learning, and I think that if forever we will be learning it. And it's not about not being tested by people or not feeling, having human emotions about things when your boundaries are tested, but it's about a matter of, despite maybe your irritation at it, having an awareness that really you are in charge, that you, like, if you are feeling uncomfortable, that it is an opportunity for you to set a boundary, or stay firm in it, get firm in it. And it's not really about being angry or, hating on the other person for doing it. It's just about, okay, like, you were the person today to show me that I need to set my boundaries. Because how often do miscommunications happen because of I would say almost every like most
miscommunications, misunderstandings, like, most of the time too, when you set those boundaries, people are like, oh, I thought this, but totally cool.
Because
right?
we can take things very personally. And like we talked a couple of weeks ago, like, like the growth that we have had individually over the last few years. And I had shared, a couple of years ago, I might have got defensive about certain things, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, and I still catch myself getting
defensive. And sometimes I also feel that way, or something will happen and I'll ruminate about it and I'll be like, I'm so angry, like I have to say something. But it's a matter of like having that perspective, taking that moment, like the pause, right? The thing I always say, respond. I'm like what did I say last night? Oh no, I'm not gonna say that. I was gonna say, what did I say? Put on my my tombstone one day, but we won't.
Oh yeah, not that one, but
not that one. Another one might be like respond, don't react as well.
Respond, don't react.
That will be a tagline forever. That will be associated with
Put it on a t-shirt.
It's the biggest. I think that it's the biggest life lesson that I am here to learn.
Yeah.
Because last week we talked about passion, and I told you last week we're all over the place. If you haven't listened yet, go back and listen. We talked about a lot of things.
So you're all welcome.
Right? We're passionate. I feel like energy sensitive people often are passionate. But that can swing both ways, right? So I have to catch myself when I want to feel like a victim sometimes, or like I'm angry, and I'm like, I can choose.
Yes.
To make what though
too? Yeah. It's okay. Like, I always like have to remind myself too that it's okay that I'm upset, or it's okay that I'm feeling this way. Also, be honest, just as on a side note, being a medium or being very spiritual does not mean that we're all like life's rainbows and unicorns and fluffy fairies. I don't know what fluffy fairies are, but we're not always like that. And so it's okay. We're having a human experience, right? So it's okay
Yeah,
to
we're
feel
still
your
having a human
emotion.
experience. Like, yeah, and that's one of
Absolutely.
those things that's a boundary too, right? That's a boundary of like people maybe having a perception that, we talked about othering a couple weeks ago with the witch
Yeah.
queen.
Yes.
That this is kind of the myth that we're trying to bust, and why we're trying to bring spirituality down to earth, because Erin and I are very down to earth. We're just regular people. Like, we get mad,
We make
we get
mistakes.
word, we make mistakes,
Yeah.
we're silly. We're just regular people that are extra sensitive to energy.
Yep. Yeah,
Right. And a
exactly.
lot of the things we see in the media, or like the old school fortune teller, that's like a stereotype, but it's not
Yeah.
always the truth, right?
And it can be scary for folks who may not have an
Because it
understanding,
feels so
because
other,
it
and it's
feels
like,
so
oh,
othered.
that
Yeah.
woman's like a little bit nuts. Like, is she going to put a hex on me? Like, I wouldn't even know how to put a hex on somebody. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know.
No, it also another sidebar is if a medium or somebody claiming to be as such comes to you and says, "I'll remove this hex for you for just
Red
the
flag.
low price of blah 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 blah." Red flag, red flag, red flag.
Red flag. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I
No.
know this is it's interesting. This is can be a hot topic. I don't know if we've ever talked about it before, but I know it's come up before somewhere else where somebody did not agree with my thoughts. And that's okay, because we're not all here living the same experiences, right? This is a personal opinion. Because I have been made to feel like so aware of just how powerful each of us are, and that we are creating our lives here, co-creating with spirit, and what we're in the driver's seat, right? And because of that, I don't know how I feel necessarily when people say that somebody has put a curse on somebody else. Like, is it possible to do that? I don't know. Like,
Listen, I think if thoughts are energy,
I was gonna say, thoughts are important. So if you believe you're cursed,
then you're cursed. I
yes,
can't
that's what I'm trying to get at.
you
And
know.
because I have a sense of, no, I'm powerfully co-creating my life, I'm
Mhm.
protected, like, I'm in the driver's seat. If somebody
Exactly.
cursed me, I would not internalize that and be like, oh my God, I'm cursed. I really wouldn't. It would
Absolutely.
be something that I was able to separate myself with.
Mhm.
And I think that's the point, is like, your mindset, what you think about yourself and your life is what it is.
Yeah. Well, and I tell people all the time, sometimes I'll suggest like stones or something because people will ask me about crystals. Well, do
Okay.
you believe in the power, the magic of crystals? Listen, this amethyst helps my intuitive abilities, and it helps like as a almost like a conductor, but it does so because I believe it does.
I was going to say, is that because you believe it?
Exactly. This I'm going to share my little cat that I got because I love it. And I'm going to give the seller a shout out because I love her. Madam Phoenix, she's on Etsy. She sells like little spells and like manifestation candles, angel candles, all sorts of things. You can go check her out. I got this little black cat, and actually got this. Here's my other crow because I felt so connected to him. It's my little black cat that's supposed to be symbolic of protection and also talking about boundaries, helping me with boundaries. And I look at this cat, and if you're watching it on YouTube, you can probably see it has looks very Egyptian, like an Egyptian.
So I want to
Right?
laugh because I'm just looking at him and I'm like, that cat has seen some stuff.
I think it's got I think the cat has a scarab too.
Okay.
I don't say it looks Egyptian, but it has the detailings.
Yeah.
Like the scarab, the necklace, that's around. And I mean, cats used to be very much worshipped in Egyptian, like historically. But I look at this cat and I'm like, oh, I feel that protection. I feel those boundaries, and I swear it has power because I believe it has power,
You've
right?
assigned power to it.
I've assigned power to it.
Yeah. I think that's really important. Yeah, because so I believe in all of that too. You know, people will say like, do you use crystals? I actually don't use crystals. I have some, but I don't use them. Um, maybe I'll find one of them especially drawn to for some reason, but the only thing I have in front of me is this rock that I collected back home in Nova Scotia the last time I went
Yeah.
to the beach. And this to me is just something special, and it makes me feel safe and protected, and I've assigned power to it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah. So, you know, there's people that are going to go, oh, you know, that's all hogwash. I don't believe in the healing power of crystals. And, you know, I'd say, well, then that's probably right for you, right? Like
Yeah,
you're probably
that's
not
okay.
getting any healing benefits from it because you don't believe in it,
'Cause you
right?
don't
But
believe in it.
for those people that do and assign power to it, why not?
Yeah.
Why
They're
not?
like I also I keep thinking of this couple. I feel like I've mentioned them before, but if you haven't seen them, take a gander at them. One is Canadian. I think she's from Toronto, somewhere in, oh, so not Toronto, but somewhere in Ontario. Greg and Dana Newkirk. So Dana is Canadian. Anyways, it's this they're this couple, paranormal couple. I'm going to give them that title, and they have this like really cool TV show called. Why am I blanking on the name? Anyways, they have this amazing TV show, which talking about in the last episode going down the rabbit hole. They really go down the rabbit hole. So if
Yeah.
you're really into that stuff, I highly encourage you to check them out. But they also are on podcasts and they talk quite often about giving something power, right? Because even, and this sort of goes back to like people believing in negative energy or possibly even like, you know, we'll say demonic for lack of a better word, but that if you um, are assigning something this, oh, this object that I have is definitely cursed, there's negative energy to it, you've just made that, and you start having
Find
things
power.
happen to you,
Yeah. Yeah.
you start assigning it energy. Oh, they actually have this. It's the museum. They have like a traveling occult museum, and they travel around, and they have like different haunted items that people like just give it to them.
I've made a note of it. So perhaps after the fact, you can find out like what their YouTube is or whatever it is, and then we'll put
Yeah,
it in the podcast notes in the show notes. And
I
then
just think they're cool. I think they're
yeah,
like a
and so
really
then
cool couple.
you guys can look up
Yeah,
or you know, take a listen if it's interested. We'll make
if it's
sure it's in the
interested.
podcast notes. Um
But that's the anyways.
yeah, and no,
Long story short.
I think that's and actually that really comes back full circle when we talk about boundaries, right? Because I think boundaries really are all it is like listening to your own, you know, your own kind of I always feel like boundaries are so physical. They can be mental as well, but I feel like the first sign for anything intuitive or boundary or anything is physical. So
Yeah.
it's like how your body reacts to things, right? It's why we can, you know, meet somebody and go, "Ooh," and we just have a physical sensation even before our brain catches up and starts to like assign, you know, why we don't relate to that person,
Yeah.
maybe want to other them or whatever it is. But
Mhm.
or if we physically react in some way. And just yesterday, I kind of was feeling like I needed to set a boundary with something, and I knew it because I was ruminating with it. So I was
Yeah.
playing the situation out in my head, and I was kind of like, I'm really kind of annoyed about this, you know? And it like kept coming up, and I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I need to set, this is a sign that I need to set a boundary in this situation.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And that's just, so that just shows that, you know, how it's like but we are in control of the boundary. Like we make the boundary. Nobody's going to set a boundary for us.
Yeah.
We do it, and we
You have to
can,
do
and we
that.
need to be empowered to do it. When you
Yeah.
feel something in your body or your mind or whatever it is that's like, this does not feel good or right,
Mhm.
it means you need to set a boundary. And we need to start empowering people. You know, it starts with children. So if your parents, we need
Yeah,
to
that's
start
huge, right?
instilling that in our children to be able to advocate and say, no, thank you.
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
No,
Yeah.
thank you. Um, because I just sometimes I go down the rabbit hole and I imagine a world in which we all felt comfortable saying no, thank you,
Yeah. And being
and
okay
no
with
being
hearing that.
okay with
No,
it,
thank you.
and nobody else getting their back up because if they're like, okay, sorry, didn't, no problem, right? Total acceptance of it. how much happier, and how I keep hearing the word like fluid, like how things would just work better. Like it just would,
Yeah.
I imagine that's what like this utopia or whatever it is that we're heading into in the
Yeah.
future, right?
Yeah.
Is about. When I
Yeah.
think of 5D, what I think about is having more of an awareness about self,
Mm-hmm.
right? For those of you, you guys know that I'm a gene key enthusiast. And I was listening to a workshop the other day about gene keys. And so in 2027, we're moving into a whole new energy, right? So there's these things called incarnation crosses.
Mm-hmm.
Down the rabbit hole, but if you're into gene keys, the reason
We've
I'm
been going down the rabbit hole a lot.
yeah,
since
the
then,
reason
yeah.
I'm bringing this up is because for the past, like, I don't know how many years, like 300-400 years, we've been in this one particular incarnation cross, which is all about building community, making stuff, right? Essentially
Yeah.
creating the industrial world, right? Civilization. And in 2027, everything's changing.
Ooh.
I think this is why people are starting to wake up, or things are starting to become more clear. It's also why everything's unraveling.
Yes,
Right?
right? Because there's
Yeah.
and things are like uncomfortable right now.
Things are
Because
uncomfortable.
growth doesn't happen when
Yeah.
we're comfortable.
Right. Growth comes not in our comfort zone. It's outside
It's
of our
outside.
comfort zone. And so right now, this is what I swear to you, I just got massive head to toe goosebumps.
Oh
Like
yeah, I know. I'm getting
I
chills.
should take a picture of my arm right now. It's so, this is truth in my bones. Okay. So 2020, the reason that I'm bringing this up is because I was like, oh, wow, like that makes so much sense about what's happening and why 2027, we're moving into a new incarnation cross, which will be for the next couple hundred years. And it is all about individual and self. So it's
Yes.
not to say that we're going to become more, you know, all about ourself in a not in a community way, but in a sense of awareness of self. And
Yes.
when I take care of self, when I have boundaries, when I listen to myself, when I make aligned decisions, it helps everybody.
Everybody.
And that's what we're
that
moving
trip
into.
wave. Yeah. Yeah. It's that ripple effect.
Yes. And I have head to toe goosebumps. And so I feel like that's why boundaries are coming up so much lately too, because we need to educate ourselves on what it is, and we need to be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah. Oh, that's been my huge lesson, right? Even just in the day-to-day work that I do with kids on the spectrum, right? And some children on the spectrum, right? They have we call them like SIBs, so self-injurious behavior, right? And I'm not familiar with that. And I was working with somebody just the other day, and they were like, "Are you going to be comfortable? Are you okay?" And I was like, "Listen, I have people around me, for support if needed, but like I, appreciate the learning that would come with that, working with that individual." And I did. I learned so much the other day.
Amazing.
Right. And so I always just like remind myself, and maybe it's just a good message for others, that if you're uncomfortable, it doesn't necessarily, have to be a bad thing.
No, like I feel like many of us, myself included, like I'll call myself out. We are not, in general, we don't like to be uncomfortable, right? And it's the reason I feel like a lot of us, not everybody, but a lot of us have stifled our own growth because we don't want to be uncomfortable. We don't want to have the hard conversations. We don't want to step out of our comfort zone. We don't want to, upset the ripple. We want
I just had a big aha moment.
Okay, tell me.
I feel like I've had so many situations in the past actually in April. Maybe April is just all about growth, right? Which is what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
And I've had so many situations where I felt, not so many, but quite a few, that I felt uncomfortable. And I'm like, you know what, this is what this is. And like, I'm trying to like reframe my mind. And even as we're talking, this is so helpful, which is why I look forward to doing this podcast with Amy every day, because I feel like we both learn something, right, about ourselves and just the world. But I think that's the huge lesson, is like, it's being uncomfortable is okay. And that's how I'm growing.
Yeah.
And because even at one point I had said to myself, oh God, during one situation, I was like, I should have just kept my mouth shut. Like, why did I do that? You know what I mean? But I'm like, There's a reason why it happened the way it happened, and it's okay. And I learned and I grew with it, and it's all
Absolutely.
good. It's all gravy.
I can't, maybe we'll end with this and then we'll move on to a card pull.
Mhm.
I love this conversation. And yeah, I always, there's a power, in speaking and like in seeing kind of what comes up, and what reveals itself in each podcast is usually exactly what we need to hear, and new insights come every single time you think about something different. Also, it's a thing where sometimes you can hear the same thing, over and over again, and then the 10th time somebody else says it in a way that you're like, oh, I got it, it hit, right?
Oh my God. I get it. I
You get
get
that, right?
it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm
Sometimes you
sorry it
just
took
need
me
to
so
hear
long,
it
but
in
I
a
get
different
it.
way from a different person, whatever, or you're in a different place somehow and you're more receptive to it. And I don't know what I was going to say, so let's do the card pull.
Let's do the card pull, but yeah,
Spirit went, ooh, I'm gonna take that thought out, wrap it up,
wrap it up.
get your card pulled up.
Wrap her up. Well,
But yeah, this is why, you can see that where we're going, where we are going as a society, where we are meant to go.
yes.
Go faster if we get our buns in gear, is comes down to boundaries. One thing you want to do, like the best thing you could do, something I said today, literally today in the morning minute with Spirit,
Yeah.
is do something that your future self will thank you for.
Yeah, exactly.
And your future self will thank you in a month, in a year, in 10 years.
From everything that
Everything you're doing
through
right now. Nothing goes unnoticed. Nothing goes unseen with the spirit world, with your soul.
No.
Nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Baby steps. We don't have to move mountains, right? You imagine if everybody did little baby steps today towards setting some sort of boundary with themselves. It could be as simple as, what I need. Last night, I put in my stories, I'm going to practice what I preach, right? Because boundaries came up yesterday in the energy. And I made a story last night on Instagram, and I said, I'm going to practice what I preach, and I'm going to go offline for the rest of the evening because I feel like I need to recharge.
Yeah.
Put the phone away. And that's an example of having a boundary with yourself.
Yes.
That's
absolutely.
as simple as that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be as simple as that. Oh, I love this card. You want to go first?
Okay. I also love what came through. So I pulled from the Doreen Virtue Archangel Oracle cards, which have been in my repertoire for quite a few years now, actually. Yeah. And every so often I'm like, I'm going to pull an angel card. And today was one of those days. So we got the card, All is Well. Don't you love it?
Okay, being uncomfortable.
It's okay being uncomfortable. Yeah. All is well. And this is Archangel Jeremiel. I
had him come up in 2 readings this week.
Get out of town.
I'm not joking.
Oh, I got goosebumps for you.
Yeah. And he has to do with that stuff, does he not?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not joking. This is a week of boundaries. This is a decade of boundaries. Just letting you know.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Yeah. Okay. They say sometimes what appears to be a problem, is actually an answered prayer in disguise. Amen. When we ask for help, heaven may dismantle the old to make room for the new. During this time of change, practice relaxation. This is exactly what we're talking about. Methods such as yoga, deep breathing exercises, and meditation. Ask me to make your transition smooth and harmonious for everyone involved, and know that this change is for the better. Whoa.
Look at that.
And the color it says associated with Archangel Jeremiel is a deep eggplant purple, which I love. And when I first started, I don't know if you noticed this, but I've talked to actually a few people, just like a handful. When I first started going to like group readings to, maybe this is just the energy, group meditations, like when I was really young, because my mom was also into this, I would see the color purple when I meditated with the group, and blue, like purples and blues. And one time I brought my good friend, I'm going to give her a shout out, Kina. I love you. Um, uh, she also was with me and she saw similar colors. And then just recently, actually, talking to a friend, she's been having some dreams, and in her dreams, she's been like she's been having a lot of like prophetic dreams
Yes.
without giving too much away, and sees the color purple.
Mhm.
So
That makes sense
whoops.
for me.
I don't know. Anyways, so maybe that needed to come out. Maybe somebody else needed to hear that. So if you're also trying to tune in, or if you're having psychic moments, could also be that you're
Chakra
seeing the
colors,
energy.
okay? And think about where
Yeah,
blue and yellow and blue and purple are.
that's
And
true, right? In your crown,
yeah,
third eye.
yeah,
Ooh, I didn't think of Amy.
yeah. I have had this discussion before. So I've shared before, like one of the first intentional connections I've ever had to spirit. One of the things that came through, which I have written right above my desk framed, is why live in black and white when you can live in technicolor. It's very colorful
very true.
in the spirit world.
Yeah.
And energy is, seen on the spectrum of colors, hence the rainbow and all that stuff. But when I started to do this work, and I kind of visualize, I had a practice of opening and closing, and I admittedly don't do it very often anymore, but I would like visualize myself kind of like with the bubble around me, almost like a protective thing, as I was getting ready to connect to somebody's loved one. And the colors I always saw were purple and blue. And then shout out to Brandy. She has a podcast called Spirit Talk. And actually she's invited us on. We gotta arrange a time. I was gonna reach out to you. So shout out to Brandy of Spirit Talk. I was chatting to her, this had to be like 2 years ago, and we kind of did like a little mini practice reading for each other. And she brought through the colors purple and blue for me, and said that they were, in my aura. And so that's really interesting and cool, right?
That is so cool. What a full circle
I feel like
moment.
those colors are associated kind of with the third eye and with opening that. And yeah. I love it. I love all the synchronicities. So I'm going to wrap it up quick and make my message quick, but it is like so in tune with what we're talking about. It's the portal card.
Woo!
Opening. You decide. And that's what this is. It's like, you want to move into 5D, you want to wake up, you want things to be better, you decide.
Yeah.
Back at the beginning of 2020, I channeled like a forecast, and it was supposed to be just for like 2020, but a lot came in about the whole decade. I don't know if you remember this, but a lot of things that came in were like, this is the shake it up decade, like history, like the foundation is crumbling, and we decide, do we stand on the crumbling, falling underneath our feet cannot support us foundation anymore? Or do we buckle up and build a new foundation that actually is going to support us how we want to be supported? It goes back again to like how important our own mindset is, and that we believe that we can do stuff, right? That we like, because who is creating the rules and structure in society? Like, who is? We're just all following blindly sometimes, but like we could. I mean,
I want to say it. I want to say it so badly. Who's making the rules?
Yeah, right. But you're seeing an uprising in the world, right? In various different ways. And so this just says doors are opening up for you all. Your thoughts are extra powerful for you right now. The planets are aligning. The timing is right. The universe is saying yes. Your hard work is being rewarded. This is a time you can reap the rewards for efforts made in the past.
Right? What did we just talk about?
Now. I'm getting
passionate. What did we talk about? Because you literally just said, Amy, that your hard work doesn't go unnoticed by the universe.
Absolutely.
Right?
Great leaps can be made. I talked about timelines being sped up right now. If we all work together and get our bums in gear, we can get there faster. Let's do it. Let's go.
We owe each other a Pepsi.
I know. Extreme transformation can occur. Great distances can be traveled in a short space of time.
Ooh, I got
what? Like what? I'm getting excited about this. So this just says, what experience would you like to have? What do you want to create? What new adventure would you like to manifest? Don't lose focus. Use the moment in time wisely. Be conscious and clear with your emotions and thinkings. Things are in full bloom.
Bloom.
When this card comes up in a spread, it is a sure sign that effortless change is possible. If you have been looking for a sign, this is a portal into the new reality. This is time to make big changes. Jump in. The time is now. You can do it. What do you want? Remember the
Clear.
where I was this in the last episode?
Yes, it's literally what you were saying.
In the last episode, if you haven't listened to episode 24, go back and listen at the end. I had this symbol come in about somebody almost standing in one of those little boxes in a game show where money's like flying and you got to grab as much as you can. And I'm like, this is what's available right now. But we're not focused. We're just kind of like flailing around, trying to get as much as we can, even if it doesn't like align with us. And how much more impactful it would be if we had like a plan and a focus. I'm going to focus right here on this jet that's shooting all the money out. I'm going to get way more of what I need if I stand here and I focus on this, and then conserve my energy because it's going to be focused.
Yes.
I love this episode. This is my favorite episode.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I was like, I hope people love it because I feel like this is like our favorite, like my favorite too. Yeah, like just the flow in the moment. And we were so nervous. We were like, what are we going to talk about? It always happens though. It always
sometimes we have a plan and sometimes we don't. But I like to be honest about that because that is an example of us learning to surrender and flow and being like, you know what? Something will come up.
Yeah. And it's
something's going to happen.
Yes.
Right?
It always does. And it always does.
It's the balance between having a semblance of an idea. Like we had an idea, we're going to talk about boundaries, but that was it. Right. So we have a semblance of, it's like, okay, you take the first step and then the universe will handle the rest. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, that's it for us. Stay tuned for next week, episode 26. And we're going to, in the next episode, we are going to reveal that we're going to be doing something special for episode 30. So you don't want to miss.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Take care.
Bye.
If you like what you're hearing, don't forget to give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast and tune in each week as we dish on all things spiritual.
Don't forget to like, comment on what you would like to hear us talk about next, and subscribe.